In this video, I'm going to show you how to hit a strike every time in Switch Sports Bowling. I'll give you tips for positioning, spinning the ball, power and more to help you max out your high score. Okay, so full disclosure, I've only been playing this game for around an hour. The last time I played Wii Sports Bowling was about 12 years ago, but obviously here at DiamondLobby, we try our hardest to work out how to do well in games in the quickest possible time. So in this video, I actually bowl a 231, which obviously isn't a perfect 300, but I start with a 4-bagger of strikes and I finish with a turkey, so clearly I can show you how to get a strike more often than not. But the fact that I don't bowl a perfect game here is actually better in terms of your education, because I can show you what works, how to fix certain things when they're going wrong, and some different techniques you can use for different hard to hit shots too. So let's get into it. The basics of Switch Sports Bowling are really simple. You'll need to hold down ZR to begin your bowl. That's the back right button like R2 on a PlayStation. Pretty much the only other thing you need to know is that you don't need to let go of ZR at any point of the bowling motion. Just keep it held down for way longer than you think you might need to. You can press it and bowl straight away, or you can press it and bowl 30 seconds later. It doesn't matter if you're still holding it down. The ball will release automatically, so just keep it held down until you're ready to bowl. If you release the button early, you can mess things up. You don't need to time your run up or anything like that. Your power, spin and more will all come from your arm and wrist action, so basically just press and hold ZR until way after the ball is released. To position the ball in the perfect place for getting strikes, line up the outside of your red dotted line with the inside of the outermost arrow in the lane, and then go ever so slightly wider than that. The arrow should be maybe 1 to 2 millimeters on the inside of your red dotted line. If you're left-handed, obviously follow these instructions, but for the opposite side of the lane. This is the perfect place to be bowling from, in my opinion, when you put spin on the ball. And if you've ever seen professional bowlers bowling, you'll know that spin is key for consistent strikes. You also have the option to angle your bowl using Y and A, but I personally don't use that option at the moment, and I'm already seeing great results. I'm fairly sure I'll bowl a perfect game soon, considering I've only been playing for an hour to get a 231. If you want to know how to spin the ball in Switch Sports Bowling, I've got you covered here. It's definitely harder to spin the ball in Switch Sports than it was back in the days of Wii Sports. If you ever played on the Wii, all you needed to do was angle your controller inwards and then bowl in a forward motion. But it doesn't work that way on the Switch. You need a slightly more complex motion, but this is much better in terms of being a fun game to play, in my opinion. I tried the old Wii motion of angling the Joy-Con, and I tried other things like swinging my arm diagonally, but the secret to producing spin, and lots of it, consistently, is all in the wrist. What you'll want to do is start with your wrist facing upwards, or as close to upwards as feels natural. It doesn't need to be strictly facing the ceiling or anything like that. Move your arm forward in a straight motion, and then as you want the ball to be released, flip your hand over 180 degrees. This will release the ball, and it should generate a lot of spin too. Remember, still keep hold of ZR this entire time. It might take a few goes of practice to get this right, but you'll quickly see insane amounts of spin being generated. You can see on this bowl that I don't quite whip my hand over enough, and therefore not enough spin is being generated. What you can also do is spin the ball in the opposite direction, which is really useful for picking up some difficult spares. This is known as an inverted hook shot. To do an inverted hook shot, you're going to have a somewhat similar setup. Aim quite far away from your target, then, as you want to release the ball, try to spin your wrist in the direction you want the ball to spin. It's worth noting that with the inverted spin, your wrist isn't going to turn anywhere near as far unless you're a contortionist. You're probably going to get about a quarter turn out of your wrist, but that will be enough to put some serious inverted spin on the ball. I like to use this type of shot rather than trying to bowl in a straight line next to the gutter. I think it's more reliable, but it might also be because I find it enjoyable to play in a slightly flashy way. I'm still getting all the ins and outs of speed worked out, but one thing I can say for sure is that you certainly don't need a full bowling action or anything like that. And timing also doesn't seem to matter either, especially with regards to how long you press and hold ZR for. You could probably play this game sitting down because such a small range of motion is needed, but that's not as fun and spoils the immersion a little bit, and it's probably a little bit harder to be honest. All you need to do to have consistent speed is make sure that when you whip your wrist over, your arm has forward motion whilst you do it. This means you're going to bowl with both power and spin, the perfect combination for trying to get strikes every time in Switch Sports Bowling. So to recap, aim ever so slightly outside the final arrow in the lane, using the red dotted line as your marker. Hold ZR, then move your wrist forward and whip your wrist over with forward motion too. Other than a bit of practice, that's all there is to it. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, then do please hit the like button because it really helps us out as a small channel. If you've got any questions about Switch Sports, then ask them in the comments and I'll reply to as many people as I possibly can, and I might even make a video answering your question too. Subscribe for more gaming tutorials, and thank you very much for watching.